Hi, and welcome to episode number 15, which is all about the victim mentality and how to take control of your life. But I would like to start off saying a big thank you to you for leaving reviews, for contacting me and sharing with me how much impact and inspiration my podcasts have been for you. And I can only emphasize the fact that hearing back from you and reading your reviews means the world to me. Seriously, I appreciate it so much because I know as well from when I like to leave reviews for other podcasters, I know it's quite complex and you need to figure out how to actually go into the show and scroll down and find the place where you can leave a review. So even more so, I appreciate you taking the time and investing in leaving a review for me. So thank you so much. Now, let's start. Today's topic I chose based on an incident and a party I participated a few days ago only. And I just want to share with you this little story that made me choose this topic. Now, I went to this party and we're sitting in a group of 10 people, and one lady was telling her story, her life story, and I was just a quiet listener on the side. However, what she said had such an impact on me, and I thought I have to make a podcast on this because I wasn't in the position to offer her help, and I wasn't in the position to say, hey, but you know what you need to do in this case. Because she was just telling her story and she liked her position in the story. She wasn't looking for help. She wasn't looking for a coach or a therapist or whatever. She just wanted to emphasize how pitiful she is. Now, this lady basically expressed the fact that at her age now, she could have been a professor, she could have started a career, she could have been anything she wanted if it wasn't for giving birth to her son. So having a baby, in her opinion, was the reason that she never became successful, that she didn't become a professor, that she didn't start her career. Now, that baby is now 66 years old, has an adult child, and obviously is living his life for a very long time. However, her perception of her life was to blame on the child. And I found out afterwards basically that this lady tends to do that, tends to victimize herself, tends to blame others, and is always complaining about others and how miserable she feels because of the others. Now, believe me, it was very tempting to offer my opinion to this lady, but I bit my lip and I stayed quiet on the outside, just listening. And it just reminded me that the way I experience the victim mentality that shows up in my clients as well is with blame. Now, they don't consider it being blame. They just see it as an explanation as to why they're feeling so miserable and how it is someone else's fault. Well, that's by definition blame. Blaming someone else. So, if I never had had a child, I would have had a career and I could have been a professor now. Or if my husband hadn't abused me years ago, I wouldn't be such a mess in new relationships right now. Or if they didn't have such a nightmare, if I didn't have such a nightmare of a boss, I would be much more motivated at work. Yeah? It all makes perfect sense in the moment of giving the blame or blaming someone else. Right? It's just how it is. There's no negotiation. It's their fault. But looking at other people and giving them all the power for how we feel, that is actually called victim mentality, because that's what we're doing in that moment. It's completely giving up responsibility for how we feel because of some powerful perpetrator in our life. So think about that for just 1 minute. Is there someone in your life that you think is the cause of your pain or the cause of your misery? Is there someone in your life that you feel is really causing you a lot of trouble right now? Now, here's a clue. If, when I asked that question, if you felt defensive, if you felt like, yeah, but you don't know my life, my situation is very different, I have my reasons, and it's their fault. Yeah? If you felt like you needed to puff up and maybe explain to me that it's different in your situation because such and such, yeah, then you may be in the victim mentality. I just want to make it very clear now that the victim mentality is not a sign of weakness. We all experience it, me included. It's a belief pattern that we've established in our brain that affects our life. I would even consider it in some cases something like a coping mechanism. Yeah? But it definitely does not mean that we're not intelligent or that we're not amazing and that we're not very capable people. One has nothing to do with the other. It just means that we have this way of dealing with certain situations. And it's very similar with my weight loss clients as well. It's a way of thinking about food and diet and eating that perpetuates our entire life. That's the same with the victim mentality. It all boils down to not taking responsibility. Not taking responsibility for your action, for your thoughts, and for your emotions. Yeah? If you have the victim mentality, you will catch yourself complaining a lot. And I know it from myself as well. Sometimes, it's just like that. It's just, it seems to be on the outside causing these negative emotions in me. And then I complain and I blame. Yeah. So, and I get into this spiral, downward spiral, poor me. I blame other people. It's a habitual thought process that spins into feeling sorry for myself. And I wallow in it sometimes. And I need that. And I live it up. However, now, obviously, with this knowledge and having learned all the things I've learned during the past 10, 20 years, I don't stay there very long. I make sure that I reflect, that I'm aware of what's going on here, and I get myself out of it as soon as possible. Because the thing is, we can absolutely control what we think in those moments, yeah, and what power we give those other people for making us feel this way. It doesn't have to be that way. So even though I could definitely get lots of people to agree with me that it's true, that life is a bitch sometimes, and it's others are doing such bad things. So I mean, how could you not blame them? But still, I'm the victim. And I'm the one feeling bad. And I'm the one allowing this to happen. So the problem with being the victim is that I have now given all my power to the perpetrator, to the other. And why should I do that? And in my mind, I'm creating feelings of helplessness and disempowerment, anger, fear within myself. And oftentimes the person who I've decided and identified as the perpetrator doesn't even know that he is or she is. But she has that effect. She triggers me. She makes me feel bad. She makes me think negative things about me, about her, about him, whatever is the situation is. And that's what I'm doing. But yet, I've created this relationship where they are now in charge of how I feel. Right? Can you relate? So, for example, people judging you in front of other people, saying, "Oh gosh, have you put on some weight?" Or, "Oh, that jean seems awfully tight on you." Or, "You really look tired today." Sadly, there are a lot of people like that. There are many people who like to point out the negative very quickly, but they're not capable or willing of giving compliments or saying something nice, something kind to you. Yeah. And I used to feel really upset and attacked when I was younger and would carry that comment or, negative statement or this negative remark. I would carry it around with me for weeks. And when I'd see this person again, I'd have the feeling all over again of, feeling hurt and, insecure. Yeah. But now I know better. And in most cases, I know that those people who actually do that, who are causing this pain, the so-called villain, they don't even know what they're evoking or what they're triggering within me or within the people they talk to. They don't even know. They're not even aware of it. It's just their character. And in many and most cases, it's their insecurity. They are feeling insecure. They're feeling jealous of something. And they have to put people down around them who might look attractive, who might actually look nice. And they rather would put them down than give a compliment so that they can raise above and feel better. So it took me a while. It took me a long time to figure this out. And obviously in my studies and my learnings now, I'm aware of what's going on there. And I will not, and I haven't for a long time, allow that to happen anymore. And this is the key, awareness, your awareness of what's actually going on. What are you doing? Why are you giving some person on the outside the power to make you feel bad? So, when you find yourself in a victim state because someone out there said something bold or something cruel to you, ask yourself this question. Do I really want to give this person the power to make me feel negative emotions? Do I want to choose to let it affect me? Or do I want to choose not to let it affect me? Because it is a choice. You choose, and you have the power to choose your perception, your thoughts in that moment. You can say, "Hey, that's your opinion, but I know my truth. I feel good in myself. And I have my own opinion on this matter. So thank you for sharing, but I will not let you ruin my day or this moment by any chance." Okay, so the fact is that you and only you are in control of what you think and how you feel. And in most cases, what people say or how people act towards you has nothing to do with you, but it has all to do with themselves. Right? So once more, it has nothing to do with you, how people act or speak around you, but it has all to do with themselves. So that in itself is such a powerful statement and fact. And you and only you can choose to detach from those people who are not serving you, who are not giving you positive feelings, but rather negative feelings. So you are in control. You decide what your thoughts are in those situations. You can never, ever control what people say or how people act around you, but you can control how you react, how you respond, and how you perceive a specific situation. Right? Are you with me? And yes, of course, victim mentality often has been created in the childhood, in the past. Like most of our characteristics or beliefs have been created in the past. Okay, and often there was a villain, another person, mother, father, teacher, uncle, aunt, whoever, who might have been to blame, who might have behaved inappropriately. And you as a child grew into the victim mentality role as a coping mechanism. However, do you really want to live your life based on something that has happened 20, 30, or even 40 years ago, right? It doesn't have to be like that. You can change this right now, and you can start right now to take control of your life. Because once you catch yourself in thoughts and moments in which you blame someone else for what is happening to you, that's where the complete power goes to nobody else but you. Like when you say, my boss, for example, just doesn't get me. She doesn't appreciate me at all and keeps diminishing my brilliant ideas. Or another example from a client who said, my father loved my sister much more than me. How cruel was that? How can you not love your daughters equally and love one more than the other? How cruel is that? She's the victim, and she's living with it. She was living with it all her life until she learned how to take power, how to take control again over her thoughts, over her emotions. Now I want to add one more thing. That doesn't mean that if in that moment, when they say that, and you have a negative emotion and a negative response, and you experience something like humiliation or shame, it doesn't mean that you pretend to yourself that you're not experiencing that. Yes, I just want to be clear that this is your reality. However, here's the key. The reason why you are experiencing this negative emotion is that moment is because of the thought you're thinking and not because of what they say. I repeat, the key here is that the reason why you are experiencing the negative emotion in that moment is because of the thought that you choose to think in that moment and not because of what they say. Okay? I cannot emphasize how important that distinction is. It's huge, right? Because if I'm the reason that I'm feeling shame in that moment, I still have all my power. If I give the credit for feeling shame to that person, then I have handed over my power to them, and I'm now in the victim mentality. Right? Another approach that I like to practice myself at times is that you might ask yourself in that moment whether or not there is a little truth in what has been said. I had a client the other day, and she kept going on about her boss, how he keeps interrupting her. He asked her, for example, now to give a quick summary of a project that they're working on. And she started rambling on, and she went on, and she described how he, after 2 minutes, interrupted her rudely in front of everybody and told her to get to the point. Yeah, she was humiliated, she felt ashamed, she felt disrespected, and she was furious. So, during our coaching hour that day, she completely changed her perception because I pointed out the fact that she could choose a different perspective on this situation. She could say, well, I know that my boss is under a lot of time pressure and he likes his employees to be efficient, and time is limited. He is under a lot of pressure. So perhaps I should condense my report and get to the point. Now, during a coaching session, she realized a different emotion that this completely different thought evoked in her. Straight away, she was compassionate. She was understanding. Yeah, and she no longer felt ashamed. She no longer felt disrespectfully treated. No, she saw the urgency of giving a quick report. Okay, so you see what I mean? It's all about the thought that we choose to think upon a situation like that. So again, you are in control. Be aware of your thoughts. Watch yourself from another perspective. Watch your thoughts and choose them wisely. Choose what is beneficial for me now to think in this situation. I often like to give myself some space as well, to step back from a situation and to look at it from another perspective. Yeah, like an outsider. It's very healthy to do that and not to fall into this victimized, there we go again, old pattern, right? You are in control. Use it. Take control of how you perceive the situation. Don't give the power to anyone who makes you feel bad. And if the situation allows it, reflect and think if there might actually be some little truth in the statement. Right? This brings me also to the topic of my weight loss clients, for example. When negative emotions arise, those are the moments very often as well that we tend to overeat. Yeah, we're looking for distraction and we're not taking responsibility for the situation or for the emotions that are actually there. So we turn to food. I know the feeling. I've also been there in the past. I've also experienced this phenomenon. And being aware in that moment that all you have to do is face your emotions, because it's like an avoidance as well. You don't want to face your emotions. That's why you're looking for distraction, or that's why you're blaming, or that's why you're shaming, right? You're not taking responsibility. So you overeat in order not to feel this emotion that's trying to come out. So be aware also in those moments. Why is it that you're looking for avoidance, that you're blaming, that you're looking for distraction? So when we do this, you see, the victim mentality doesn't have to be someone outside of you necessarily, like in this situation with overeating. It can also be you. you can also be your own villain and your victim at the same time. And it's very clever how we do this with ourselves. Yeah, if I'm willing, instead of eating, if I'm willing to be vulnerable, to face my fears, to face those emotions, which means opening up without defenses for whatever emotion comes up, then I don't need to eat. Then I don't need to blame. I take responsibility, right? And I don't need to avoid myself by overeating with food. I don't need any crisps or ice cream. And I can experience in that moment when I choose to take responsibility that I can experience whatever emotion is coming up for me. And I can really hear myself out then in those moments. And that's when you experience and have a great, huge breakthrough. And a much better understanding in yourself, right? So often we come to the conclusion that in the case of overeating, you are the victim and you are the perpetrator at the same time. So when we identify ourselves as a victim, you will notice that it's usually paired with some flavor of, there must be something wrong with me, you're beating yourself up again. I just can't lose weight. I'm not like other people. Something wrong with my metabolism, Notice if that's the way you're thinking, that might be a hint that you're in that victim mentality in that moment. So all it means is that you have a pattern of thinking that you're identifying yourself as the victim, right? Now, here's something I would like you to do. Take a moment, perhaps write it down even. That always helps me. I love writing down thoughts. So take a moment and ask yourself those questions. Where am I unwilling to feel my emotion? Where am I in avoidance? What things am I not doing? What visions am I not pursuing? What conversations am I avoiding to have because I don't want to feel any negative emotions? So, alternatively, you can also say, who am I blaming for how I feel? Who is it you're blaming? Your relationship? Is it your boss? Is it your partner? Your children? Who are you blaming for the anger, the sadness that you're feeling? Or are you blaming yourself? Am I blaming myself? Or am I blaming other people? So, what are your answers to that? Can you take 100% of responsibility for how you feel? Because that's our goal. That's what we want to do, right? So in that case, when you do that, you are in the most vulnerable place with yourself. That's when you can find the deepest connection with not just yourself, but with that part of you that is even much bigger than the self. And that's the ultimate state you want to achieve. Be authentic with yourself, be honest with yourself, and be vulnerable. All you need to do is practice the tools and be aware of what you're thinking and how you're feeling. That is the biggest, powerful way to approach this. Take responsibility on how you're feeling. Responsibility means having the ability to respond in a certain way that is beneficial to you. So be responsible. So, to finish off, I thank you for your time. And I would so appreciate and love if you took the moment to write a review for me. I love reading them and I love hearing back from you. Write a comment, share with us and with me how you feel, how you have experienced feeling vulnerable or feeling as a victim. How do you take control of your life? All those topics that we touched upon today, how do you deal with it? I would love to hear back from you, and I appreciate your time so much. Thanks again. Until next time, bye-bye.